गोपीजनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन वनचारी मुनतीरावनचारी राधा माधव बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय निताय गौरांग जय निताय गौरांग निताय गौरांग जय निताय गौरांग जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभु Jai Vishnupada Pramsa Parivrajakacarya Stottar Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 9, chapter number 4, text number 64. Naham Atmanam Ashase Madbhaktaha Madbhaktahi Sadhubhir Vina Shriyam Chatyantikam Brahman Yesham Gatir Aham Para Naham Atmanam Ashase Madbhaktai Sadhubhir Vinaha Shriyam Chatyantikam Brahman Yesham Gatir Aham Para Na, not. Aham, I. Atmanam, transcendental bliss. Ashase, desire. Bhad bhaktahe, with my devotees. Sadhu bihi, with the saintly persons. Vina, without them. Shriyam, all my six opulences. Cha, also. Atyantikam, the supreme. Brahman, O Brahmana. Yesham, of whom. Galihi, gatihi, destination. Aham, I am. Para, the ultimate. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. O best of the Brahmanas, without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination, I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss and my supreme opulences. Translation with repetition. O best of the Brahmanas, without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination, I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss and my supreme opulence. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient, but to enjoy His transcendental bliss, He requires the cooperation of His devotees. In Vrindavana, for example, although Lord Krishna is full in Himself, He wants the cooperation of His devotees like the cowherd boys and the gopis to increase His transcendental bliss. Such pure devotees who can increase the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are certainly most dear to Him. Not only does the Supreme Personality of Godhead enjoy the company of His devotees, but because He is unlimited, He wants to increase His devotees unlimitedly. Thus, He descends to the material world to induce the non-devotees and rebellious living entities to return back home, back to Godhead. He requests them to surrender unto Him because, unlimited as He is, He wants to increase His devotees unlimitedly. The Krishna consciousness movement is an attempt to increase the number of pure devotees of the Supreme Lord more and more. It is certain that a devotee who helps in this endeavor to satisfy the Supreme Personality of God becomes indirectly a controller of the Supreme Lord. Although the Supreme Lord is full in six opulences, He does not feel transcendental bliss without His devotees. An example that may be cited in this regard is that of a rich man who may not have sons in a family. He does not feel happiness. Indeed, sometimes a rich man adopts a son to complete this happiness. The science of transcendental bliss is known to the pure devotee. Therefore, the pure devotee is always engaged in increasing the transcendental happiness of the Lord. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purpose. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here it is said that without saintly persons, the Supreme Lord does not desire to enjoy His transcendental bliss or His supreme opulence. Prabhupada in the purport writes that although the Lord is self-sufficient, He does not require, just like we are incomplete in different ways. We are incomplete in Sat, incomplete in Chit. We are lacking knowledge. We are lacking Ananda. And this material world is, everyone is busy. Everyone is trying to achieve something, to achieve some kind of completeness. There could be shortcoming in terms of finance, there could be shortcoming in terms of relationship, shortcoming in terms of security, shortcoming in terms of love. But here Prabhupada is mentioning the Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient. Although he has everything, but still he enjoys, looks for the transcendental bliss in association of his devotees. Many times people ask that why we were created. So the answer is the Lord, the entire creation, including us, is for the pleasure of the Lord. Eko Bahushyam. The Lord became many for his pleasure. And a crude example of this is also there when we see after getting married, suppose somebody does not get a child, they become so restless. They'll do anything to somehow beget a child. And that's how so many ways of begetting a child with the advancement of technology have. So many kinds of treatments are in, because a lot of people are finding difficult to get a child. So the Lord also, this tendency, we see anything what we have in our experience, it's all originating from the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada says even the base qualities like lust, anger, greed, it's a perverted reflection of the qualities which are present in the Lord. So just like the Lord enjoys the company of his devotees, the perverted reflection is that how we want to enjoy relationships, different rasas in this material world. The pure form is the Lord enjoying relationship with his devotees in the spiritual world. So the example Lord gave when he came to in this material world in Vrindavan, that how he enjoyed the company of his cowherd boyfriends and the gopis. And Prabhupada writes that such pure devotees who can increase the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are certainly most dear to him. Not only does the Supreme Lord enjoy the company of his devotees, but because he is unlimited, he wants to increase his devotees unlimitedly. So the Lord's capacity to enjoy is not limited. Like here in this material world, if a couple gets 1 or 2 children, they are happy. They are satisfied. Their ability to handle more rasa is also not there. So, but in case of Lord, since he is unlimited, he looks for unlimited enjoyment through his unlimited devotees. And that's how Prabhupada mentions that he wants to increase his devotees unlimitedly, and Krishna consciousness movement is an attempt to increase the number of pure devotees of Supreme Lord more and more. So here the Lord wants to enjoy the company of his devotees, and devotee also wants to enjoy the association of the Lord. So when we say Eko Bahushyam, that does not mean that Lord is selfish, everything is created for his happiness and everyone is supposed to serve the interests of the Lord and should have no regard whatsoever of his own interests, own happiness. Just like a crude example is a slave. He just serves the master. Whereas the Lord has made this world, this creation, this living entities, that when the living entity is in a loving relationship with the Supreme Lord, the Lord enjoys and the living entity enjoys. Prabhupada gives example of the finger in this body. Different organs of the body, when they serve the interests of the body, the organs also receive their quota of nourishment, their quota of enjoyment. Prabhupada, we all know, had gone to Pune, and there was a devotee, an elderly gentleman, Mr. Malhotra, who spent a lot of time with Prabhupada. In fact, he in his car took Prabhupada around the city. And even though he was very nice person, but as in India, even though a person is spiritually inclined, they have some philosophical understanding which may not be completely aligned with Krishna conscious understanding. So one day, Mr. Malhotra openly, in one sense, a mild kind of argument started. And this was the time when Prabhupada had envisaged building a temple in Juhu, a marble temple, opulent temple. So Mr. Malhotra argued that, Swamiji, I like your philosophy. They used to have a lot of conversations. I like your talks. But I am not in alignment with your understanding that we should build opulent temples for Krishna. And then he also challenged Prabhupada, show me one verse in the Gita where Krishna is saying, build a temple for me. Show me one verse. So then, a lot of people have this doubt. As far as, and this Mr. Malhotra argued that India, there is so much of poverty, so much of illiteracy. Is the money not better utilized if we use that money to feed the poor? For somebody who does not have clothes, it's better to spend the money giving him clothes, take care of the basic needs, rather than building a temple for Krishna or God. And this doubt most of the people have. Giving money for Akshay Patra or for charity or some social cause, that's understandable. Even to cows, taking care of cows, all that is acceptable. But building a opulent temple for worshipping the Lord, many people cannot digest Abhisheka. And the movies which are made, how we are wasting so many things. There was one person in Mumbai, he saw this movie. What is the name of the movie? In which? Oh my God. And that person was religious. He became completely atheist. Although we may hear such arguments, but because we know some bit of philosophy, Prabhupada's instructions, teachings, we generally do not get bewildered. Even if to some extent some doubts come, the more we read, the doubts get squashed. So this person, this Bhavik's brother, So this person stopped going to the temples, became an atheist almost. Now he's back, but so it is a very much we see it that how people are not aligned with building temples, worshipping the deities, Abhisheka. They think it is waste of money. They think that worshipping idols is it is not right. So Prabhupada gave a very nice example to Mr. Malhotra to explain why a temple is required. Why preaching Krishna consciousness is required. Just like here Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness movement is to increase the number of devotees. Krishna personally comes because his enjoyment is unlimited. He wants unlimited devotees. Therefore, he is inviting, come back to me. So Prabhupada gives an example that how there was a man who visited his friend's house, and this friend was very, very opulent, living in a very palatial house. And he stayed there in that house for a few days. He was taken quite good care of. He was treated very well. He got acquainted with the family members, his son, his wife, and returned back. He was quite grateful for the entire hospitality and the good care which they took of him. Many years later, this person happened to see someone who resembled very closely with the son of the rich man in whose house he had stayed. He was in the streets, begging. From a distance, he saw that person and said, looks very familiar face, looks like I know this person, but he could not recollect. And then he stopped his vehicle, went a little closer to him, and then suddenly it struck him who this person is. And not only that, this person also immediately could recognize. And then this person asked, oh, you are son of so-and-so. Remember I had come and stayed at your place. The person also acknowledged, yes. But he was quite surprised. What are you doing here? How come you are in this condition? So then this young man, he said, what to do? My father is a very cruel person. I had a big fight with him. He is very egoistic. He thinks I cannot live without him. For everything I have to take his permission. One day I decided enough is enough, and I walked out of his house. I told him I don't need anything of yours. And then he said, you know, the world is quite harsh. And very reluctantly he asked, if in any way you can help me, please do help me. Now, this man has a genuine concern for this young man. He knows his father quite well. He is obligated because he had stayed in the house. He was taken care of so well. So he wants to really help that young man. So one option is he can give him some food, some clothes for a few days. But this man did not do that. What did he do? So he said that although you might have had fight with your father, but I know him quite well. I am sure there must be some misunderstanding between the two of you. He is not that bad. I know him since my childhood. So why don't you come with him? Come with me. Please come to my home. So he took him home and little bit broke the ice, befriended him, made him cool down. And he said, I'm sure because of communication gap, this misunderstanding has crept in between the two of you, and which has resulted in this separation. I want to talk to your father. And somehow, whatever this misunderstanding this has happened, I want to patch up. And I'm sure he will be also eagerly waiting for you to return home. So this person calls the father, and initially the father also was quite angry. And then he talked to his son, tried to understand what resulted in such a big conflict. And then eventually they spoke to each other. Whatever the misunderstanding was there was somehow resolved, and this son returned home. Actually, this material world is also like that. We are like that rich man's son. We all have come here, and in this material world, everyone is like that man in the street. Not everyone may be in the street, some of them may be in a big palatial house, quite opulent, but all of them in one form or the other suffering. We see here in America a lot of good infrastructure, good homes, the city council, very nicely maintained, planned cities. Even though people may enjoy good quality life, but everyone will get a jolt. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi will not leave anybody. So we are like that rich man's son, and Krishna has allowed us to come in this material world. Neither we are happy without Krishna, nor Krishna is happy without us. Although he is self-sufficient, because he is compassionate, he is kind, that's why the whole Gita, one time this Vidya Bhushana who had sung this Bhagavad Gita, so Chanchalapati was mentioning one time they were in a studio recording that Bhagavad Gita thing. So he was chanting those verses and then the translation. At one point, while the recording was on, he started crying. And then during the break, he was telling Chanchalapati Prabhu that how in the whole Gita, Krishna is so mercifully telling that don't do this. Like a father, who is saying, I'm telling you this. Just follow what I am saying. Actually, if you see, the Gita is like that, just like a rich father is out of compassion, out of kindness, out of love for his child, is telling, don't do this, do this. So, just like that rich man, son, who cannot be happy without his father, likewise, we are in this material world, and this Krishna consciousness movement, all these temples, is meant to connect back all the jivas who have come in this material world forgetful of the Lord, suffering in different ways, connect them back to their original Father. So why these temples are required? These temples are required where this connection can happen. And when that connection can happen, then just like it's very easy to give some food, some clothes to that rich man's son, but that will not solve the problem. Even people say, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So here, yes, somebody who is suffering, you can give him food. Somebody who doesn't have clothes, you can give clothes. That's okay. But that's not going to put an end to his suffering. So long as the jiva is in this material world, some kind of problem, adi bhautik kleshas, adhyatmik kleshas, adi devik kleshas, he has to face. So this temple is a place where when the jivas come, they can be told who their rich father is. They can be told about their permanent residence. Their misunderstanding with the father can be sorted out. They can be told that the father is very kind, compassionate. Many people don't know who their father is, rich father is. And even if they know, there's a misunderstanding. So Krishna also, here Prabhupada says, Krishna also personally comes. Yada yada hi dharmasya. This is dharma. What is dharma? Dharma is about who our rich father is and how we can have a nice, good relationship with him. And whenever there is glani means misunderstanding or wrong understanding of our relationship with our father, then Krishna personally comes to re-establish that dharma. So Prabhupada also in the purport mentions that how we have examples of rich men who don't have children. Because of wanting that relationship, that rasa, they even adopt some children. In Bangalore, there is one person known to us. He had a son, and generally people think, no, children, in today's world, at least people subscribe to the idea that, okay, one is enough. Too much of botheration. Or some couples, they don't want to have children because too much of responsibility. Both of them are working. It's difficult to manage. So all kinds of combinations are there. So this gentleman known to us had a son, and then the son is quite grown up, maybe in 8th class or something, was in 8th class. And they adopted a girl. So for us, when we got to know, when he revealed, it was little difficult for us. Okay, what was the need to adopt a girl child? Again, I'm not saying it is wrong. I'm saying for us, what was the need? So he adopted a girl child. Maybe they wanted to have a complete family, a boy, a girl. You know, it makes the family complete. So okay, we accept it. So then the girl slowly grew up, and they were quite loving. They would come once in a while to the temple. So I was just curious to know, is the affection between their son and the girl child, is it equal? Is it equal in the sense they are equally affectionate to the adopted child? To some extent, yes, they were equal. They were quite affectionate to that girl child, showering a lot of love. And then, after 3 or 4 years, when this girl grew up, we heard that they have adopted another child. So, and then many times when we speak to that person, he says, "Are you chanting?" He says, "प्रभु जी बहुत बिजी हैं आजकल, बच्चों के साथ बहुत टाइम निकल जाता है." So what is the need? One may ask. Only thing which can come to our mind is the rasa. Here it says, a rich man who may not have a child adopts a child. So this person is also very fond of children. So although in this material world we have come to enjoy different rasas, but having understood the philosophy, yes, we should not entangle more and more in this material world. We should focus more and more on serving Krishna, loving Krishna, understanding about Krishna, and go back to the spiritual. But devoid of this knowledge or proper understanding, people go after all this rasas and get more and more busier, more and more entangled. So here Prabhupada mentions the science of transcendental bliss is known to pure devotee. What constitutes real rasa which will satisfy the self is known to a pure devotee. What is the reciprocal relationship between the Lord and his devotee is known to the pure devotee. Therefore, a pure devotee is always engaged in increasing the transcendental happiness of the Lord. So one who has understood this is engaged in giving pleasure to the Lord, and in reciprocation he is also enjoying transcendental bliss, and he also experiences the completeness which we all are hankering to experience. So the more and more we become devotees, the more and more we surrender to the Lord, more and more we give up the false pleasure of this material world, we will be qualified to experience real pleasure, real relationship. So this is what the Lord is also hankering for, that relationship with his devotees. He is, although self-sufficient, his pastimes are not complete without his devotees. He has unlimited capacity to enjoy, so he is looking for unlimited reciprocation from his devotees. He wants to increase the number of devotees. And devotees also, in relationship with the Lord, enjoy the completeness, the pleasure, what they are looking for. So I'll stop here. Anyone has any question, anything you'd like to ask? So the translation is, O best of the Brahmanas, without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination. So for saintly person, it is the Lord who is the center of attraction. He is the supreme destination. Lord is the supreme destination. Now, for such saintly persons, the Lord is saying that I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss and my supreme opulence without them, without such pure devotees. For such pure devotees, Lord is the destination, Lord is everything. And for the Lord, he has no desire to enjoy his opulence, his transcendental bliss without their company, without their association. So the Lord also is trying to increase the number of devotees. He is also personally comes to this material world to reclaim. And the devotees also who are participating in the mission of the Lord are also trying to increase the number of devotees. So we'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. board members. So now you'll go back to this thing or?